Check it.
Yikes. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Offsite's fourth commencement ceremony. My name is Hector Silva. It's a pleasure to be here. In the 12 years that I've been in industry, 8 years that I've been in education, no other day makes me nervous as hell to be in front of a bunch of people and to talk about our accomplishments. So here we are. Thank you so much for being here. Offsite was created to evolve design education, to disrupt it, give it the shock that it so desperately needs. So our approach to Offsite from the beginning has always been with you in mind, the student. It's an amazing thing that we've created together. And today we're here to celebrate you, the students, the mentors, the instructors, everyone who's a part of the Offsite team, and everyone who supported us from day one. Today, we aren't just celebrating the spring cohort, we are also celebrating our evolution. So we've been in operation for 2 years now. We've had over 300 alumni attend, over 150 mentors giving their time, 50 guest speakers, countless of hours of work and refinement. Thank you so much for everyone who has made this experience extremely special. Today, we celebrate our alumni as well. Not only have you given back to our community, but you're now the exact reason why this program was created. You're a working professional, and congratulations to our alumni who have transitioned into industry by proving yourself. You've applied what you've learned in Offsite, and now you work for some of the biggest brands in the world. So we're very proud of you. Continue to speak your dreams into existence. represent us in every way possible, and make us proud. We would like to thank our sponsors who have helped some of our students make their dreams come true. Dan Grossman at Smart Design, Ivy Ross at Google, Todd Hurlitz at Volume Studios, and the team at Keyshot, Derek Cicero and Josh Minks. Thank you so much. Thanks to you, we were able to offer scholarships to students in our program and hopefully change their design trajectory. I'd also like to thank our commencement speakers who have volunteered to share a little bit about their work and why they want to change the world with design. Sit back, enjoy the next hour, and let's get started. So we're going to kick things off with some of our instructors. Of course, you've heard from them for the last 12 weeks or even more, but now you're going to hear from them in a different way, in a different perspective. And we're going to kick things off with Jack. So Jack, if you are here, would love to, perfect. You have the floor now, my friend.
Awesome, great. Well, first of all, congratulations to everyone. You've made it through this 12-week intensive, and I can tell by kind of personal experience with all of our students that you guys have really leveled up, and I think that's what Offsite is all about. So I want to take a couple minutes and talk about professional play. As designers, we're a lot like kids. When you're a kid, you learn, you explore things, and you figure things out through play. You kind of put things together. Sometimes they don't work, sometimes they do work. And that's how you learn. Everything is unknown when you're a kid and you're just kind of playing to figure things out. A lot of the times as designers, we are going into the dark. We're doing things that people haven't done before or made things that people haven't attempted before. So you have to play with things to be able to figure stuff out and to connect those dots. So I just want to encourage you to not grow up, to keep that like childlike wonder, to keep asking questions, to, as you go through your career, ask those questions that people may not be asking. Find out the reason why for everything that you're doing. And then keep pushing and stay hungry. And yeah, I just want to leave that with you guys to be able to continue to play and to have fun. This is a fun career and a fun field to work in, create the future and have fun.
Thank you so much, Jack. Amazing words, really appreciated. I'm going to have our next instructor come forward and share a little bit about attitude and mindset.
All right. I am here. Let's see. Thank you, Hector. And thanks, Jack. I couldn't agree more with what you said. Great advice for sure. For those of you who don't already know me, my name is Kelly Custer, and I'm the instructor for real world sketching. In my class, as the title indicates, I put a strong focus on reality. I strive to equip all of my students with the know-how to sketch effectively in the real world, not an idealized one. So with that being said, I want to hit you with one last dose of reality. The real world is difficult. All of the easy ideas have been taken. The problems that still need solving are complicated. And throughout your career, you will be surrounded by naysayers. But I want you to embrace this reality because it's these exact conditions that will give you the opportunity to be creative. In fact, it is the reason we designers exist, to help solve the unsolvable problems. I grew up with my dad always saying, if there's a will, there's a way. And I believe it is this stubbornly optimistic mantra that has allowed me to see design solutions that others can't, simply by continuing to look. So instead of letting the real world turn you into a pessimist, I want you to be a stubborn optimist, okay? When you see a pile of constraints, I want you to get excited. When someone says it cannot be done, I want you to hang back and figure it out. When people call you crazy, I want you to keep going. be a stubborn optimist. So the good news is it was your stubborn optimism that brought you to us at Offsite. So you're already off to a great start. With that, I want to congratulate you on what you've accomplished here at Offsite, and I can't wait to see what each of you do next. Over to you, Kat.
Hi, thanks, Kelly. Hello, and thank you for everybody for joining us today. I'm Kat. I teach classes in both cohorts. And for those of you who are not Offsite students, know that we spend a fair amount of time during Offsite talking about our identities as emerging or seasoned designers. And those of you who are Offsite students, the bulk of the audience today, know that all that reflecting that you did is only just the beginning. Make it a regular practice to reflect upon your values. How are you upholding them? Find those who share those values and work alongside each other towards a common goal. I promise you there is nothing more fulfilling. It's important as creatives and also as people to strive to be our most authentic selves rather than trying to be a copy of someone else. This doesn't just take shape in your identity, but also in your work. It is those differences between us, our experiences, our backgrounds, our personalities that influence our approach to design and create a wide range of solutions and visual culture that adds texture to our world. It has been such an honor to go through the process with you all. This group has done an amazing job of identifying their individual strengths and finding their unique voices. Perhaps they were there all along, and it just took me 12 weeks to fully appreciate each and every one of you. Either way, I encourage all you Offsite graduates to continue sharing those perspectives, speaking your truth, and sketching in your own style. Know that in doing so, you will attract the eyes of those with similar perspectives, further growing your community and opportunities and impact on our world. You do you. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you so much, Kat. We're going to hear now from our next instructor, Becca.
Thanks so much. So my name is Becca Gosling. I'm the color and form instructor for cohort 1. I would hate to betray the trope that I've cultivated all cohort, that all I do is talk about fashion. So I guess I'll start with that. So I've been reading this Anna Wintour biography lately. She's best known as the editor-in-chief of Vogue and the mastermind behind the Met Gala, for those who are a little less fashion obsessed than I am. I am endlessly fascinated by Anna, but I have absolutely no interest in working for her. And that's not because she's known to be a grueling boss. It's because she seemingly leaves no room for emotions, her own or her employees. I'm sure this makes her a very efficient decision maker, but I also think that those efficiencies have potentially cost her a lot of connection with her team and her readers. I used to pride myself on coming to work with a lack of emotion. I was pretty certain that as a woman in a male-dominated field, my Wintourian approach would be the best way to avoid being called irrational or impractical or emotional. But as it turns out, that made me a really timid and passionless designer. And because I'm human, I still got emotional at the office despite my best efforts. I just did it in hiding. So I hope through Offsite that you learned a lot faster than I did that emotions aren't something to run away from, but are rather something to embrace. Lately, the world has felt really scary, messy, and confusing, and it would probably be a lot more comfortable to go cold and ignore it all than to face it head on. But all of you here took the risk. You addressed reality, and you turned your frustration, disconnection, and anxiety into something really beautiful. By harnessing your emotions, you made the world a better place. Instead of falling to frustration, you empowered individuals through beekeeping. Rather than give in to disconnection, you built a community through drinking glasses. And instead of being consumed by anxiety, you brought us peace through nature. And that's just a handful of the incredible things I had the opportunity to see you do. We all have feelings, every one of us. There's no better way to connect with your user, community, boss, or whoever than with a little bit of emotion. So maybe don't burst into tears on the daily at work, but please promise me that you won't shut off as you enter the professional world. I've seen what you can do when you put your heart into something, and I just really hope the rest of the world gets to see that too. So thank you all so much for an incredible 3 months. I'm very, very proud of all of you. And with that, I'll hand it over to Tyler.
Hey everyone, my name is Tyler Anderson. I am the co-instructor next to Jack Marple of the Product Viz and Design class. And first, I just want to say congratulations everyone on making it through the cohort, but specifically this recent cohort, I was just so impressed by the ability that you guys had to dive in and really sink your teeth into the projects and content that we were teaching. And at the end, we had a little kind of post review of the class, and a few students mentioned how, when they entered into this cohort, they were nervous, they were insecure about their skills, even some of them about their English. And by the end, how much growth and confidence was seen from these people, and you know who you are, was just amazing. And I'm so proud of everyone for making it through and just keeping the energy so well through the cohort. And if there's anything I want to leave you with, it's keep that energy and keep that kind of self-starter mentality of, hey, I want to do this and this is going to better me, and it's scary, but I know on the other side that I'll come out a better, stronger, more capable human being. And I think in your professional career, those steps that you take that feel scary are the ones that you grow the most from, and the ones that you look back on and say, wow, I'm really glad I did that. So with that being said, congratulations, everyone. Amazing cohort, amazing spirit, amazing skills. I'm so excited to see where everyone goes.
Thank you so much. We are having our last instructor speaker, Dominic Montante.
Hey everyone, welcome to week 13 of DFM with me, Dom. Today's lesson will be about stewardship. So today I want to talk about stewardship, and if you've actually attended my class, when I say stewardship, it's a reminder to be good stewards about caring for the earth and for each other. So in DFM and product design, we often talk about sustainability, which for us is kind of a buzzword because we think of it as associating with the government or with the environment, making things greener and better for everyone. But what we examine in our class is that sustainability means so much more. And we've kind of gotten to look at some of the really unfortunate, or even better said, horrors of what industrial design can really be. So we've seen that compostable PLA is alive. We've seen what the lifespan of styrofoam is. We've seen how much water is required to make paper products. We've seen the chemicals leached by MDF, PVC, and even Hannah Montana trading cards. We've seen what the sheer energy consumption of metalworking is. We've seen what a dependence on fossil fuels we have in making our own plastic resins. We've seen human health traded basically for profit, and we've seen the exploitation of workers. The sad reality is that product design inflicts pain and injury upon the earth, and this is something that is very hard to come to terms with. And even seeing some of your reactions in class to what the material is that we're learning are that of utter panic or being completely jaded by the industry as the system basically marches towards its own destruction. And as true as that may be, the one thing I want to leave you with is to take solace in the fact that with knowledge comes two choices. You can choose to either be fearful, so you can crawl into a cave, curl up into a ball and hide, or you could take advantage of your knowledge and take action. So the best people to dismantle a system are ultimately those with the most intimate knowledge of how it works. So if you now better educated designers go into the world, you're not going to make the same mistakes as designers in the past. You will have the knowledge to recommend alternatives and call out failures where they're being made. You'll have the ability to look at systems and ask, are we reducing harm socially, ecologically, or mentally the best that we can? You have the knowledge to speak up and challenge established norms, because the best way to combat problems in product design starts in the little ways, and especially with you, the product designer. So design can be used as a tool to uplift, protect, and nurture. Do not panic, because I think with the future in your hands, it'll be a better place. So with that, always remember to be good stewards of our world, and I'm excited to see where everyone goes next. So congratulations.
Thank you, Dom. We are now going to hear from our student speakers as they will talk about their experiences with Offsite this spring. So our first student speaker is going to be Leslie. So Leslie, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Hector. So hi there. My name is Leslie, and I was part of cohort 1 this past spring. I am also currently a doctoral student in mechanical engineering. And now before you ask what the heck a PhD is doing here, allow me to show you where I came from and how Offsite has helped me on my industrial design journey. So growing up, I didn't have a strong concept of what career path I wanted to be on, so I spent most of my life so far just trying a lot of different things. I enjoyed crafting, drawing, and watching stories unfold in the many anime I watched when I was young. But these remain nothing more than interests going into college as a physics major. Midway through my program, I began pivoting towards engineering because I wanted something more tangible and applicable to real life. When I designed my first part in SolidWorks and made it in the student machine shop, I thought, I want to do more of this. I want to design. I want to make things. So in the effort of chasing after this nebulous concept of design, I went to get a master's in a company-sponsored manufacturing research lab, hoping that I'd quote unquote become a better designer by learning about and experimenting with a hunk of super expensive machinery that shoots lasers and metal particles to weld them together. While the experience was valuable, it reinforced the sentiment that I wanted to design the thing being made, not making the processes work for a design. At the same time, it made me realize that I wanted my work to touch the lives of those beyond the company whose machine I was using. That led to my interest in learning more about commercializing technology from research labs going into my PhD, and discovering, out of many other things, the importance of customer needs in the success of a business. This entire time, I didn't know specifically what design meant to me until I followed a breadcrumb trail of webinars during the pandemic that led me to Keyshot World Expo, where I learned that the organization Advanced Design had this program called Offsite that introduced industrial design to non-designers. It didn't take much to convince myself to take this leap of faith into the program and to take flight into the industrial design world. Offsite made me realize that the design and make things that I wanted to do was really industrial design and prototyping all along, not the mechanical design of things like drivetrains and engines or the experimental design and research. It introduced to me IDEO's design thinking, where all the seemingly chaotic disarray of experiences I've had thus far fell into place all at once. But that's where the story about me ends and the story of us specifically in cohort 1 begins. Cohort 1 not only gave me, and hopefully all of us, this overwhelming sense of belonging, but also taught us many invaluable lessons about ID beyond the basics of sketching, design methodologies, color and form, and prototyping. Hector taught us that the aesthetic ID sketches on Instagram aren't the end-all be-all of industrial design, but that they are just a tool for communication, which is the most important part. Kat opened our eyes to the joys of collaboration with peers through Miro boards, and that simply sharing our thoughts with others will likely get us out of whatever design rut we were in much quicker than if we were trapped in our own headspace. Becca showed us that the power of using color, material, and finish in storytelling, and the importance of looking into all aspects of life outside of what is in front of us to inform future CMF decisions. Spencer demonstrated that even with some basic hand tools and materials, we can make illustrative prototypes in our homes without the need for an entire machine shop. The opportunities to hear from current design professionals both in and out of class, whether our own instructors, in-class guest speakers, or offsite sessions presenters, gave us a realistic and grounded perspective of industrial design outside of a sheltered classroom environment. And last but not least, Offsite gave us the opportunity to become a part of a larger design community outside of our own cohort, some members of which I was fortunate to have been able to meet up with in person over this past weekend during New York Design Week. In closing, I would like to give a huge thanks to all of the instructors, mentors, staff, guest speakers, fellow cohort mates in cohorts 1 and 2, and alumni who have made Offsite such a wonderful experience for me. Thank you all for listening. And with that, I'd like to pass the floor to Lena.
Thanks, Leslie. That was so good. Hi, everyone. I'm Lena. Happy Friday. I'm super happy and honored to get to make this speech, but I do have to give a disclaimer that I unfortunately tested positive for COVID on Tuesday, so I'm a little in recovery, so I'm kind of creepy. But thank you for bearing with me. You should be safe from behind the screen. So this is a little dramatic, but I want to start at the very beginning, which is my birth. You can click to see this baby. By forces I cannot claim to understand, I happen to be born as a fairly privileged Midwest art girl. For roughly the first 22 years of my life, this was my entire world. You can click. My perspective was mainly occupied by my hometown, my family, my friends, and my interests, which were always some combination of art and the natural environment. I went to college in my hometown and studied fashion design and environmental studies. But even in my education, the driving force of everything I did was myself, or rather my own personal advancement towards a career. Next slide, please. Once I graduated undergrad, left my hometown and entered the real world, I realized the massive amount of world that there is to experience and to learn from. I also realized that most of this world was actually least concerned with the main thing I'd spent all my energy working on my whole life, myself. All of my design projects emphasized my own aesthetic and my own way of thinking, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but also, from what I now know, not necessarily what makes a successful designer. After working my first postgrad job in fashion and leaving it feeling disheartened by the industry, this all led to an inevitable, cute little existential crisis. You can click. I realized that what I was really lacking was new and different perspective. And this is exactly what brought me to industrial design and specifically to Offsite. I can click. I joined Offsite with the goal of expanding my world and lessening my ego-driven intentions. Of course, career is super important and necessary, but I was excited to focus my creative energy on creating goals that didn't necessarily directly benefit only me. Part of this meant learning hard skills about a completely different, though tangential industry to fashion. I learned that business is a necessary skill to successfully bring a design to market. I learned that manufacturing is a complex art that must be given attention and care from the start in order to execute designs. I learned that sketching and 3D visualization are important tools to develop and communicate ideas, not just epic Instagram posts. And this is my brain having a brain blast. And there's a GIF of a brain blast from Jimmy Neutron. Can go to the next slide, thank you. But beyond these hard skills, Offsite opened my mind to inviting intangible concepts into my design process, like empathy, values, and confidence. I now have greater understanding and compassion for all of the effort that goes into making a product, whether it be the trees that grew the wood, the hands that built the prototype, or the minds that marketed the story to customers after we designed. Offsite gave me a newfound confidence in my control to choose to pursue the solutions that benefit people and forces beyond just myself. And finally, Offsite gave me a community that quite literally expands my world to the entire globe. It has been invaluable to hear from the perspectives of my peers and to now have friends way beyond my hometown. Offsite, excuse me, Offsite has equipped me with the perspective and tools to design for a world that isn't just my own, and I can't wait to apply all of them in my life. Thank you so much to Hector, all of the instructors, to my mentor, shout out Chloe, and to all of my cohort peers. You all are so inspiring and I seriously look up to all of you. So thank you. And now we'll hear from Audrey.
Thank you so much, Lina. Hello, my name is Adriana Reynoso, and I am an industrial designer based in Quito, Ecuador. I am one of many international students in Offsite, and I was part of cohort 2. I want to start with why I chose to apply to Offsite. Be ready for story time and lots of screenshots. I finished university and suddenly entered the battlefield of the job market. I found myself fighting on my own. I lacked connections. There was no follow-up from professors or university services. Everything became fierce competition, and there comes the insecurities, the limiting beliefs such as I am not enough. I felt disconnected. What I learned from the creative industry in academia wasn't the same as the real world. I had questions like, what did I learn and what I actually needed to learn? Who am I as a designer? I was constantly searching for answers. Then there was this global event that changed all our lives. And one day, scrolling on Instagram, I found some posts that resonated with exactly those questions I had. It was Offsite, and while I couldn't apply at the time, I was keeping an eye to the work students produced. I was always more curious. I tried to upskill on my own and trying to feel a sense of belonging within the international design community. It was very hard to keep momentum and motivation, and again, I still felt this loneliness and disconnection, considering I was thousands of miles away from the people that I admired and were my inspiration. Then last year, the opportunity arrived. I applied, and when I got my acceptance to the program, I cried because someone believed in my potential, and I knew big things were coming. Now I want to emphasize the impact of the community on my growth during these 12 weeks. The first surprise was the Slack group. I didn't expect to suddenly be able to connect with over 200 people. This is a place where many interesting stories are shared. The discussions are always alive, and there is also constant flow of information like webinars, resources, advice, support. I thought, this is it. I finally found the place I was looking for. There was more than I expected, more than they advertised. Game nights to have fun and connect with alumni and classmates. Feedback sessions to review our assignments. If many of us struggle or had no knowledge on a topic, the experienced team was always listening to our concerns, and they organized weekend workshops. Taking care of our mental health was a priority. We had some talks where we could have self-awareness of how we felt. I am grateful for the instructors, especially Spencer, who always started his lectures asking us, how are you doing? We had access to lectures and workshops in design that introduced us to the work of seasoned professionals around the world. As you can see, Offsite is a busy place. The studio. This is where the magic happened for me. A safe space for us to discuss and nerd out about design, share our experiences, have a good time designing while listening to music and asking for feedback when we needed it. Just pushing each other to grow and getting positive reinforcement and motivation when we felt overwhelmed. Offsite was a huge shift for me. Suddenly, there are no grades, no hidden agendas, no subjective preferences, just wonderful designers who are committed to help you grow and achieve your biggest potential. It is you versus you. And I wanted to show how this support system worked with one of the assignments for the visualization class. It was the design of a lamp, taking in mind the visual brand language of a company. I had the opportunity to show my ideas to my peers, which have experience in different industries and come from different countries. As many of us worked, we could show up and keep each other accountable. It was delightful to see the progress we all made day by day. In cohort 2, I was also paired with a mentor. I am grateful I had the chance to ask someone working at my dream job about my projects and my portfolio, having conversations and fun sketching afternoons when she reviewed something I struggled to figure out. And while our instructors had busy schedules, they were always supporting us and answering any questions we had. That resulted in finished projects that I am proud to be including in my portfolio and share to the world. I can't wait to put all the lessons I learned into practice and also to contribute with my skills and experience to this growing community and the new students. I will always be grateful to all the people that made this dream possible. And now I'm going to hand things over to the last student speaker, Amir Safari.
Hello, everyone. How you doing? Thanks, Audrey. For those who don't know me, my name is Mohammed Amir Safari, but everybody calls me Amir. And this is a quick story of my journey in industrial design. I am originally from Iran, and I'm proud to say that I'm the first Iranian industrial designer who joined the Offsite community. I started my path in industrial design starting almost like 18 years ago. I got my bachelor's, worked for a couple of years, then my thesis-based master's in industrial design, then again worked for a couple of years. But in 2015, I started to get to know that I need to learn more. So I decided to move to US for my project-based master's to expand my skills. Right now, I'm working as an industrial designer at a local company called Lifetime Products in Utah. And I knew advanced design since my master's at Arizona State University. But I got familiar with the Offsite community since 2020, exactly the time the pandemic hit. And unfortunately, I got laid off from my first job at Phoenix, Arizona because they declared bankruptcy. Then after I got laid off, I immediately started to look through my portfolio and apply for a job and start improving my portfolio. I remember it was a very tough time to find a job. It was a very competitive market. Even though that I got the great job offer at Lifetime Products at Utah, but based on the fact that I got more than 138 rejections and from the job opportunities I received in less than 6 months, I knew my portfolio was missing something, very crucial aspects that I wasn't aware of. Believe me, I tried so hard to make it perfect, but it still wasn't satisfied. So based on the information that I got from online, then the Instagram, and based on the result that I was seeing from the cohort students, I knew Offsite could help me, but I didn't have the chance to get in. So fast forward, I knew Offsite is going to give me those missing pieces that I'm looking for. So fast forward, 2 years later, I decided to join cohort spring semester, and I had the privilege to get a scholarship for that, thanks to Offsite community. So what Offsite meant to me, when I started cohort 2, I was looking at it as 6 separate courses. But as soon as we passed 2 weeks, I became aware of a very strong connection between the contents of each classes we are being taught. So I completely changed my picture in my mind. And instead of 6 classes, I started looking at Offsite as a one major course. A major course that not only was taught by a strong network of 7 amazing instructors, but also was supported by a very super talented team and community. A community that would encourages you to push your boundary. So here is an example of how intentionally synced and connected the content between the classes were. So I'm going to take the example of designing. We had a project that we were told to design a product for a Sonos brand, a visual hub for a Sonos brand. I'm going to take that as an example to show how everything was connected, starting from the principles of the visual brand language that Michael taught us, then which aligned with the topic of understanding the vibes of a brand that Kat explained. Meanwhile, Spencer defined how to create a solid net framework in design process to be able to strongly support our concepts. At the same time, Kelly was walking us through various sketching techniques that would help us to properly illustrate and communicate our ideas to the clients. Then after selecting these 3 main concepts out of the concept deck sketches, Jack showed us how to use the CAD skills as a privilege to make the concept iteration process very faster. Simultaneously, Dom was conveying every detail of the materials in manufacturing and showed us how to be mindful about the pros and cons and very details about each of the materials when we use in design. And finally, Tyler showed us how to absorb all of these contents and in all of these information and translate it into final product visualization, which loops back exactly to the origin of what Michael taught us. So what I learned from Offsite. Kelly taught me how to understand my audience and how to communicate with them through my sketches. Michael clarified the professional business system in design and showed me how to constantly evaluate my design and my progress. Dom guided me to be mindful of every single impacts of my design and that would have on an environment. Kat walked me through how to write a better story I'm telling by using my portfolio as my media. Jack showed me how to be aware of the weaknesses and strength of my skills when I'm translating my ideas into 3D models. Tyler helped me understand to how constantly monitor my time, my effort, and the results that I'm getting from when I'm preparing the visualization. Spencer shake things up in my mind about who I am, how I am feeling as a designer, and what good design means to me. And finally, Offsite community showed me how to appreciate the synergy of creative community and how to be a help to others while learning from them. Also, I wanted to thank to my great mentor, Scott Latham, who is the creative director of Cinco Design, who have helped me a lot with my portfolio so far, and all of the feedbacks he has provided me through a cohort classes. And finally, I would like to thank everyone, including instructors, support team, experience team, everybody, all of the alumni, all of the Offsite staff, especially Hector, for giving me opportunity to be part of this community. Now I'm going to hand it over back to Hector.
Thank you so much to our guest speakers for sharing insights and these intimate moments with us. We do understand that not everyone learns the same, which is why we love to humanize what we do here and really listen to every student's needs. So thank you to our guest student speakers. We really appreciate you. We are now moving into hearing from our keynote speakers. So our first keynote speaker is actually an alumnus of Offsite, of the very first cohort. I am super excited and very proud to invite this person back to speak now as a professional, because we feel like, it's a kind of full circle here. So I'm going to give her the floor. And before I do, a little bit about Yvonne. She's an industrial designer based in the Bay Area with in-depth experience in soft goods and CMF. She's currently focusing on gaming products at Logitech. Before discovering design, Yvonne studied the social sciences and jazz saxophone performance. She brings this attention to social context and emotional impact into her work. In her off time, you can find her reading graphic novels or at a boxing gym. With that being said, Yvonne, the floor is all yours.
Thanks, Hector. I could share my screen.
Yep.
Cool. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep, you're good.
Awesome. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Yvonne, and congratulations on completing Offsite. So I was in the pilot cohort in 2020, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've been working on coming out of the program. So like a lot of you, I came to industrial design in a really non-linear way. I originally studied jazz saxophone performance and sociology, like Hector mentioned. And in my last year of school, I took a design elective and was like, oh, like, this is what I want to do. This is it. But I was already done with school. So I was like, Like, how do I do that now? And I graduated into a recession with no hard skills and no job prospects. It took me about a year to get a stable job in that market as a barista at a tea house. And I decided to also try to teach myself graphic design. I did get some freelance work and I became the tea house's sign artist and menu production artist. But I realized if I really wanted to pursue design in a serious way, I needed to get some more formal education. So I actually went back to school and got a second bachelor's in industrial design. And I graduated, but I didn't really feel like I had learned enough in that four-year program. And I felt like I was missing a lot. It needed more. So kind of mid shelter in place, I was scrolling Instagram like all of you and saw this experimental design program launching and decided to try it out. So when I started Offsite 2 years ago, I actually had 0 renders in my portfolio. My ID program had spent only 2 days on Keyshot and I didn't have any renders that I felt comfortable showing to anyone. So rendering is definitely one of the many hard skills that Offsite helped me level up. Pretty immediately after my cohort's commencement, Tyler's Render Weekly team did their Herman Miller competition. And with my improved Keyshot knowledge, this was the first time I really felt comfortable trying a Render Weekly and submitting it and posting it to Instagram. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the Render Weekly and Herman Miller sprint, the brief was to show your vision of the next gaming edition of the cell chair. Something that never made sense to me about just gaming products in general is that even though about half of gamers are women and most gamers are actually adults, gaming products look like they're for teenage boys. This was on the right is an IKEA gaming line that was released in 2021. It's like so recent. So I approached this challenge really wanting to design a lineup that more accurately reflects the true user base. So this is kind of the final lineup that I landed on in that sprint. I picked the colors by researching aspirational gaming PC setups. So I was seeing like a lot of pure white setups, a significant number of kind of pastel, like cutesy kawaii setups. And then of course there's the traditional everything black, like super techie setup. I tried to balance the design to be neutral enough to fit into most homes without being really obnoxious, but like have enough fun and unique elements to make it a gaming chair instead of a generic chair and really appeal to like gamers' desire to be kind of expressive and different. So these kind of iridescent and translucent details are my solution for that. It was really fun to push my new Keyshot abilities, and although I didn't win the competition, I did make it as a finalist in the community award section, which told me that just something about it was working. At the same time, I was interning at Astro Gaming. And so this exercise actually carried directly into my main internship project. So the design team was tasked to update this headset, the A10, which is Astro's entry-level gaming headset that targets younger gamers. The goal is for the form language to be more related to their professional headset, but I was specifically also asked to do something new with the color that Astro had never done before. And this is kind of what the core portfolio looked like, just traditional, hyper-masculine, aggressive, black with like bright neon or red accents, and it serves just one type of gamer, and it's really typical across the board in like every gaming company. And since this was 2020, a lot of new people were starting to game and they were playing things like Animal Crossing on Nintendo Switch, not Call of Duty on PC. So being Astro's entry-level headset, this was kind of the right product and the right time to try accommodating these new gamers and also just traditionally underserved gamers. This project was super rendering intensive, but it was also the first time I had to communicate between mechanical engineering, CMF engineering, packaging, marketing, product management, like the head of the business group, et cetera, and convince all these stakeholders to buy into the team's design vision, which was a little risky. Between Michael's lectures on business and org charts, Kat's class on communicating vibes and practicing visual persuasion in Kelly's class, I was honestly really surprised by how much of my design intent actually got through. So this is the final lineup that my team proposed. We wanted an iconic ID language with more inclusive color options. So the pastels are meant to be gender neutral, fashion forward, and inviting, kind of the opposite of the mainstream gaming aesthetic. I learned that there's a huge overlap between gamers and sneakerheads. So the white headset is kind of meant to be more sneakerheady in the show car of the collection, and also have like a safe black and neon option for the traditionalists. My internship wrapped up around this time that I was proposing the final design, and I was offered a full-time position at Astra's parent company, Logitech, where I'm now on the greater gaming team. But here is a photo of the new A10, which just launched 2 months ago in March, and it's the first thing I've shipped since completing Offsite. So what I've found so far is that Offsite helps you level up your skills, but it also helps you build a certain amount of momentum for your next design opportunities. So my two biggest pieces of advice for you in this moment are to take advantage of that momentum and just keep going, keep doing what you're doing. And also to stay in touch. We're here to support each other. The community is so valuable. So congrats again on completing the course, and welcome to the Offsite community.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. Truly inspiring, really appreciated. Our next keynote speaker is Jeremiah Baker, and he is an alumnus of the prestigious Dash. Also went to the Art Center College of Design and is a former faculty member of Art Center. Jeremiah has shipped multiple products for the world's leading global consumer electronics brands and managed to still find a way to start his own company called Normal Objects, a collaborative collective of creatives dedicated to the small batch production of enduring and limited objects to enable conscious and intentional living for all. At Logitech, he was a lead designer for the top-performing Ultimate Ears boom line of speakers. At Samsung, he helped launch Level, the company's first premium audio line. And most recently at Google, he was instrumental in designing the future of wearable tech through the Pixel Watch program. We're very excited to have Jeremiah be our second keynote speaker. And with that being said, Jeremiah, the floor is all yours.
All right. All right, can everyone see this?
Yep, you're good.
And everyone can hear me, yeah?
Good to go.
All right, perfect. Well, congratulations. I'm sure this is it's always a meaningful moment to bring something to completion. And I'm so impressed with what you've all been able to accomplish and what Offsite's accomplishing as a whole. So today, like keynote speeches are not my thing. I'm used to doing corporate presentations. So the format of this is going to feel a lot like one of those and less like a very inspiring person standing on a stage. But I'll do my best to include some bits of inspiration. Well, my goal here is going to be to inform and inspire using little anecdotal moments from my career to tell that story. So it's really about transitioning into industry from education or learned skills. And I really want to highlight some insights about the things I had the wrong view of fresh out of school and early on, and the insights I gleaned along the way to manage those. So just a little bit of background, I went to design and architecture senior high school, like Hector mentioned, graduated 03, went to Art Center College of Design, graduated 08, feels like ages ago now. But when I was in school, I interned at Panasonic in Osaka, Japan. That was an amazing experience. I encourage when the world's back up and running again, everyone to travel as much as possible, get exposed to as many perspectives as possible. I think that was hugely impactful to my process. Interned doing footwear and also another footwear program at Nike / Art Center collaboration called the Art Center Pro Initiative, which was focused on sustainable footwear. This was way back, 2007. But insight one that I learned, and I got a little bit of this in school, I started to realize this, but it was reinforced as a professional. You know, being creative or innovative or having good ideas is not where it stops. To be able to impact the people you seek to impact. And I'm sure you've heard this before, but it's a lot about storytelling. And it's more so, I would say, as amazing as your creative skills have to be, and as innovative as your ideas has to be, your salesmanship has to be at that same level or even better. and you're selling a story, but in every context at every moment, you're also selling yourself, right? As an individual. And you should always keep that in mind as a priority and don't get lost in the creative because certain things can happen and I'll get into those. But you're always going to wrestle with, oh, I'm really trying to be artful and creative and I'm really trying to be a salesman. It's always going to be in some ways uncomfortable. But the facts are design moves business and businesses need sales to operate. And creativity is about 30% of that and good ideas just don't sell themselves. So when all the designs are the same, it's literally the story that sells. In school and early on in my career, I was too focused on acquiring all the skills. And I think Offset sets you up for success by giving you all these skills, right? But I think at a certain point, you have to stop trying to obsess about trying to be the best. And you have to start observing what comes natural to you. And this may sound wrong because I'm going to say quit something, but it's about understanding how to quit tactically. And this doesn't mean don't try. It means do the work, always give it your best, but you have to have a sense of being able to realize when something isn't working for you and you as an individual. You can spend a lifetime trying to get better at every possible skill set and you can get burnt out doing that. So the top performers in the world, you know, they quit when they realize something isn't working and they spend a lot of time reflecting and understanding what is working and selling that. And top performing companies like this also do this. And I think just a little nugget on storytelling as an example, you know, I love these campaigns. I think Apple did a knockout job with this, but yes, they always show the design details and all of those elements, but the takeaway is what's the impact it's going to have on a user's experience. That's the story they highlight on a billboard 1,000 miles away. It's just this little nugget shot on an iPhone. And this is what I mean by selling a story. So you got to know your story and you have to sell it. The second insight is turning, you know, limitations and leveraging them and taking limits or constraints and turning them into superpowers. Like you can't look at it as a limitation. Life isn't fair. Industry definitely isn't. And you can't use any of those circumstances as an excuse. And you have to take what you do have and use it as an advantage. And this is kind of like that quitting mentality. But these are kind of lessons I learned when I was the lead designer at Samsung, principal at Logitech and Ultimate Ears. A lot of these situations, we were underdogs in market and having to figure out what we could utilize to still disrupt the market in certain ways and find success. So Samsung, we put out this line when Beats was completely dominating the market. And I won't get into the nuts and bolts of the project, but it was a little bit about ID, a little bit about art direction, finding our consumer and who we weren't and who we could connect with, and a lot about leveraging Samsung's ecosystem of devices, because at the time, Beats did not have the same ecosystem. So again, that's playing to your strengths. I'll quickly touch on this product, which happened to sell over about between 6.5 and 7 million at this point, and it did well. And that wasn't something we anticipated. And this wasn't because of the ID only. It was a lot with the marketing teams and the business units and the entire team that worked on it, and also the CMF team. But we really embraced having less. For this product, unlike its bigger siblings, we had 50% less budget, we had about 50% less time, and we had about 50% less resources. So we had to focus on who we wanted to connect with here and being crafty with the limitations that we had. So it meant picking a different user, going for a more inclusive positioning in them. A lot of these Bluetooth speakers at the times were male dominant, super tech driven. We wanted to go lifestyle and more inclusive with the CMF play, also the marketing positioning. And then also proving the concept meant I physically had to go to the supermarket, buy socks, deconstruct them to understand how meshes worked around these forms, and do the work of telling that story in-house through these prototypes. So this is where the rubber meets the road. All the skills you're learning today, I use them in these quick, very economical, cheap prototype methods to sell this concept through to the business unit. And the things that started to become harder as I got more experience, were understanding and being able to actually recognize your point of view. And this is super important when it comes to looking at limitations or things not as limitations. You have to own your point of view, and that's actually what is unique to you. So it's not a hindrance if you didn't come from any money and you had limited resources. You have to look at that scenario and say, how can I bring that point of view to how I solve problems? Because that's what it's going to take for you to have a different presentation or deliver a different solution. So as the reason I said this got harder, the higher I got in my career, is I was no longer looking from this, looking uphill mountain point of view. I had had some successes, so now I'm looking to a different plateau. And in some ways that blinds you. So now you're not looking at things in a way where you're, let's say, able to see an insight. You've seen so much, it's so easy to that point to say what's not going to work. You start to see how an idea won't be able to be made in time, or how a manufacturing limitation is going to limit this execution. And you start to say no a lot. So I would say to this point, like, don't ever let your point of view start to blind you, but also when there's a long way to go to where you're trying to get to, don't let it scare you, and definitely don't ever lose it. In corporations, teams can become pretty flat because to operate, companies have to be able to sustain work, meaning a lot of designers have to be able to do what a lot of other designers do, but you don't want a flat team. And your point of view is what allows that team to stay dynamic. And the last one is standing on possibility. I don't ever like to think something can't be done. This was just a snapshot of a product that came from nothing into existence. We built an entire factory in Los Angeles to do this. We built an assembly line in Guadalajara, Mexico, to bring this concept together from a sketch to reality, and had about a 30-person engineering team. So it's possible to bring things completely from nothing into life, and don't ever believe that it's not. Another thing that's a testament to that is, this project was a long time in the running. I can't talk about the timeline, and I can't get into too much of the nuance of this yet because it was just announced last week. But there's a lot of work that went into getting this off the ground in a world where everyone thought the Apple Watch was going to be the only thing. And I'm super excited to see what this does to change that game. And I'm super privileged to have been part of that program. So in closing, the takeaway is going to be, as a priority, sell a story. And it's really telling you to sell your story. It's really about leveraging your limits, utilizing your point of view, and always stand on possibility. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeremiah. That was amazing. Thank you to both you and Yvonne for being inspiring and sharing with us, a little bit of your journey and your professional experience. So we are back to my presentation. So thank you all for your patience as we kind of transition over. So we are in kind of the last part of this commencement. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, for our 4th commencement ceremony. We're very excited for you to leave here with all these amazing skill sets, these awesome insights, and most importantly, a new education in design. We couldn't have done this without your help, to all our mentors who have given their time, their valuable time to our students. We just can't thank you enough. To our sponsors who are paying it forward, I'd like to thank our instructors who have really been a part of this journey, and to all of our students, our guest speakers, and guest student speakers. Last but not least, thank you so much for, again, for your time, Yvonne and Jeremiah. We hope that they inspired you. I'd also like to thank the advanced design team who work tirelessly, whenever we need to get things done. Time does not exist for us. We work, we don't have a schedule. We just, time is irrelevant for us because we know that we have a specific purpose. Tiffany, Bethany, Betwell, and the experience team, FIBA, Chris Ferens, and of course, Nino. Thank you. It really takes a lot of people to make this ecosystem run really smoothly. You're all ambassadors of our brand now, so please go out there and help us change the world. But before we let you go, of course, we have a couple things to share with you. We wouldn't want it any other way. So I am very excited to share a couple things with you. First and foremost, our team is celebrating our 5th anniversary of the first Square One Design Conference. This year, the event will revolve around the theme of Connect. So Advanced Design was founded upon building connections between designers. After 2 years of remote working, learning, and living, there's nothing we crave more than connect once more face to face. This year's Square One conference is going to push that to the next level. We're going to have talks, panels from industry leaders, opportunity networking, and it is all happening in Chicago. So mark your calendars. We are hoping that this happens October 6th through the 8th in Chicago, Illinois. And I know that some of you have been meeting in person, since Offsite is pretty much right now global. We want to kind of formalize this a little more. So along with our conference, we're going to have our first Offsite reunion at the same time that our conference is happening to incentivize you to come to Chicago, be a part of this conference, but also meet your instructors, meet your fellow classmates. Do your best to come to Chicago and be here with us to celebrate that we are real people, and that, if you pinch us, it hurts and we bleed. So come and really feel us. And it's going to be great. You know where to find us. We are on social media. Please, follow us and keep up to date with what we do. And right before we take off and we kind of wrap this up, today, some of our guest speakers and some of our student speakers spoke about some of these insecurities and not having to tell yourself that maybe you're not good enough. And I've had these conversations plentiful with past alumni and instructors. I'm here to tell you with kind of this last message that you are good enough because you exist. You are phenomenal, and nobody has a right to dictate otherwise. Your biggest strength lies within that. You are your greatest power. There is no objective description of what good enough entails. You define it. It's your call. You set the boundaries on your life. You're the only one responsible for any limitations you might trap yourself within. And therefore, it stands to reason that you're the one in charge of rocketing right through that. You are unique and universal, and don't forget that you're good enough. So thank you so much. Thank you for being part of this amazing program. And I hope that this video wraps up our exit. So have a great day, and I will see you all very soon.
Say something, goddammit. You're on television. You're live to the whole world.
In case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Yeah.